Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have worked together on many issues that relate to FAA reauthorization. I appreciate working together. There is much agreement, a couple of disagreements outside of the area of ATO, which we'll go through tomorrow. The ATO is the major stumbling block, and I believe it jeopardizes all of the other work, the essential work in that bill that deals with drones and other safety issues, a whole host of issues, certification reform, which we've been long overdue, which is crucial to keeping our lead in manufacturing and software that relates to aviation in the world. And I fear that this proposal jeopardizes that. We do agree on enduring issues that Congress identified in the 90s, 96, attempted to reform procurement personnel at the FAA. The FAA blew it off. I will have targeted proposals on procurement and personnel, which I will offer tomorrow. And then, yes, there have been tremendous problems, and I believe in part NATC is here today because they're still really angry about sequestration, shutdowns, and layoffs that happened because of the budget shenanigans, which were, of course, caused by the majority party. Now, how do we protect ourselves against Congress is a big issue. This is one particular solution. I believe there's a better solution because this one actually fails that test. I raised last summer the issue that this would be unconstitutional. We cannot devolve regulatory or rate-making and other competitive impacting issues to a private entity under the Constitution. It is very, very clear we can't do that. I was first blown off, but now the chairman's proposal actually recognizes it, and we have what I would call a Rube Goldberg, which I'd like them to put up on the screen now. And I guess this is the diagram of how this would work. Here's the new private ATC corporation. Now, if they make a decision over here on aviation taxes, they have to refer that to the Secretary of Transportation, who has 45 days, yay or nay. Then it can be rejected, in which case the corporation goes to court. Or they can be accepted and passenger fees go up. No involvement of that messy little Congress thing in raising the fees on passengers or any other users of the system. Now, let's say that they want to change flight paths into an airport, including a metropolitan airspace that might have some noise implications. Well, that's what you call an external diseconomy. They don't care about noise. It's cheaper to come in over this route. So there's a lot of objections to it. It goes to the Secretary. The Secretary decides it. So in any case, this is how it would all work. There is one exception for contract air towers are exempt from this scheme, but everything else that relates to ATO would be in it, which is kind of odd that we would exempt the contract towers. Now, I think this is a potential morass, and we did just receive, and I regret it came out today, but look, been talking about this for 30 years. We've had the bill a week. We're holding one hearing with 4 witnesses, and we're marking the bill up tomorrow. The largest devolution of public assets to a private interest in, I said, the history of America. My colleague this morning, Earl Blumenauer, said, no, in the history of the world, this is bigger than what happened in Russia when the oligarchs took over public assets. We're talking about an asset, no one's valued it, worth between $30 and $50 billion that will be given to the private corporation free of charge. That's unprecedented. There have been 2 privatizations. One privatization in Canada, they paid $1.4 billion. It was later found that it was undervalued by about $1 billion. I believe in Britain they paid a little over $1 billion for it. We're going to take a much larger entity controlling a lot of real estate, some in some very expensive areas like New York City, and we are going to give it to a private corporation, and the day after they establish, they can do with those assets whatever they wish. They can sell them, and we have no say. That, I think, is a cause for real concern. There are other major transition issues. Yes, there have been 81, actually, countries that have transitioned to a different form on ATO. Only 2 are private, unless you count the Emirates, where they control everything, including the airline, so I won't talk about them. But there were huge transition issues in all these countries. There's a MITRE report, which I would recommend to people to look at, which raises concerns, as was referenced earlier, on how long this transition might take and how disruptive it could be of the progress we are making on next gen. I believe it could be very, very disruptive, and we have today, and again, I regret it just came out today, but it's like everything else here, we have to rush for the biggest change in our aviation system since it was created in its modern form in the 50s, which took 2 years. In one week and 1 day, we're going to spout it out of this committee. I think that's wrong. I think we should take more time. I think we should have more discussion of these issues. I think we should have more hearings, and I think we should work through this more thoughtfully and over a longer period of time. The GA, Mr. Chairman, you took 11 minutes and 35 seconds, so I hope you're not going to tell me to be quiet because I'm nowhere near there yet.
No, wouldn't think about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The GAO report that came out this morning raises very, very serious questions which will not be answered between today and tomorrow. They couldn't possibly be answered between today and tomorrow. And this is where they went out and surveyed 33 aviation experts about the privatization proposal. And again, I regret it only came out today, but this whole thing is being hurried through. Finally, the issue before us about airspace. It was a statement the chairman made, and I hate to disagree with my chairman, but if someone controls the routes and they control the conditions under which you access those routes, and they control the investment in the system itself, which means maybe we don't want to invest in things that serve medium and small cities. They aren't profit centers. Why should we be putting investment there? We're keeping control of the airspace. I guess there's some technical way we're keeping control of it, but none of that will be subject to any elected representative. Now, in some cases, maybe that's good. In some other cases, maybe that's not so good. In some cases, that might be really, really bad for a certain community, parts of the country, or a certain user of the system, or maybe passengers themselves, who will perhaps now be charged a new fee for accessing the airspace over the United States. It's like you got to pay $25 for your bag, and what's this $10? That's for using the airspace. Nothing in this bill says that that couldn't happen. And in fact, that would be up to the private entity, and it is a private entity. Profit or not profit, big deal. It's a corporate private entity, but it does have the Rube Goldberg control. Ultimately, the secretary could say, no, you're not going to charge passengers $10 to use the airspace. Then the corporation sues the secretary, and how long does that take in the courts? And what kind of uncertainties do we create? Same thing with any rationalization of the system where there's a disagreement between the secretary and the board. So I feel that we should perhaps slow down a little bit here, think about alternatives. I did spend a lot of time trying to develop a freestanding government-sponsored or a constitutionally chartered corporation, because the chairman tells me on his side of the aisle you can't have the word government, which would not have to report back to the Secretary of Transportation and have him say yay or nay on everything they do, and wouldn't have been a field day for lawyers. I couldn't generate support for that idea, and so therefore I will not be offering an alternative, but targeting reforms at the existing FAA in the hope of having more support for the needed reforms. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for holding this one hearing with 4 witnesses, and I look forward to the discussion.
I thank the gentleman, and just